There have certainly been disappointing ends to the season before for Jets fans. None could touch this one. As the NHL regular season ends today, the Jets will end their stay in Winnipeg. Pried from the arms of the loyal fans in the name of so-called progress. This is the new NHL, they say. Bigger, richer, but no one in Winnipeg today seemed to feel it was better.
In the summer of 1996, just 3 years into Gary Bettman's reign as NHL commissioner, the Winnipeg Jets moved to Phoenix. Bettman was hired to grow the league, so keeping the team in Winnipeg wasn't high on his priority list. Plus, Phoenix looked like a slam dunk. As the fifth largest city by population in the United States, Phoenix was key to growing the NHL's television footprint, and things actually started out pretty well. The first few seasons of the downtown arena, which they shared with the Phoenix Suns, were characterized by a packed house and lively atmosphere. The problem was, the arena was purpose-built for basketball, so a majority of the seats at one end of the rink had an obstructed view. The floor area was barely large enough to fit an NHL rink, a configuration that left a portion of the upper deck literally hanging over the ice. It wasn't perfect, but it looked like it was gonna work, until things went off the rails. Owner Richard Burke wanted to build a proper hockey arena for the Coyotes in Scottsdale. He had his sights set on the Los Arcos Mall property, which was owned by retail and entertainment developer Steve Ellman. Burke was passionate about hockey, and his priority was helping the NHL succeed in the desert. He knew the team needed to stay in the Phoenix metro area to succeed, and he was prepared to do whatever it took to make that happen. Ellman wanted to own the team as well as the building, so in the interest of getting the arena deal done, Burke sold the team to Ellman for $88 million. Little did Burke know, despite his best intentions, it was a decision that would set in motion 2 decades of chaos, both on and off the ice. Ellman purchased the team with the help of minority owner Wayne Gretzky, who was also named head of hockey operations. Things looked to be moving in a positive direction, until Ellman and Scottsdale officials started to disagree about the financial details of the proposed deal. Constant delays and conflicts with Scottsdale pushed Ellman to start considering other locations for the new arena. And in April of 2001, Ellman announced he'd reached a deal with Glendale to purchase land for an arena and retail development. Ellman's decision to abandon the Scottsdale proposal still haunts the Coyotes to this day. Back in 2001, there wasn't much happening in Glendale, especially compared to Scottsdale, where there was lots to do for entertainment. But there was a lot of cheap land available for development, which excited Ellman, who was interested in building an entertainment district with shops and restaurants surrounding the new arena. Glendale approved Ellman's proposal, and the Coyotes signed a development lease with the city in 2001, with construction beginning in April of 2002. The new arena opened midway through the 2003 to 2004 season, with the Coyotes playing their first game on December 27, 2003, in front of a standing room only crowd of 19,000 fans. But things soon started going wrong both on and off the ice. The Coyotes missed the playoffs in their first season in the new building, and what would have been their second season in the new rink was wiped out by the 2004 to 2005 lockout. After the lockout was resolved, Wayne Gretzky appointed himself head coach of the Coyotes. He was the Yotes bench boss from 2005 to 2009, during which the team finished over 500 only once, and missed the playoffs 4 years in a row. The lack of success led to attendance levels dropping considerably. Off the ice, the surrounding entertainment district opened 2 years behind schedule. This was a major problem, because Glendale had envisioned paying off the arena debt with tax revenue generated in and around the Westgate development. A significant portion of the city's financial problems were passed on to the Coyotes as a result of their unfavorable arena lease. Together with declining attendance, this resulted in the team suffering massive financial losses, as much as $40 million a year at one point. On top of that, the Steve Ellman era didn't last long. In 2005, Ellman sold the Coyotes to trucking magnate Jerry Moyes, who was also a part owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks, with Gretzky keeping his minority share in the team. Things were even worse during the Moyes era. First of all, Moyes wasn't really all that interested in owning the team. Not long after purchasing the Coyotes, he set his sights on finding a new buyer, which ticked off the league. By 2008, the team was losing money at an alarming rate. It was also revealed that Moyes had told Bettman he was going to stop funding the team, so the NHL stepped in to fund the Coyotes directly. Bettman played down the NHL's involvement in media reports, but in reality, the NHL had pretty much taken over the operation of the Coyotes. Then in May of 2009, Moyes initiated bankruptcy proceedings for the Coyotes, without the consultation or approval of the NHL. Making matters worse, the bankruptcy filing came just hours before Moyes was scheduled to meet with Bettman, who was planning to discuss the Coyotes' future, including a potential sale to White Sox and Bulls owner Jerry Reinsdorf. But Moyes wasn't interested in Bettman's proposal, because he wanted to sell the team to Canadian billionaire Jim Balsillie, who intended to purchase the team out of bankruptcy and move them to Hamilton, Ontario. From May to September, hearings were held in Phoenix bankruptcy court to decide the fate of the Coyotes. Reinsdorf withdrew his offer, meaning the NHL was the only rival bidder to Balsillie, whose proposal to relocate the team to Hamilton was in violation of league rules. The judge held that Balsillie couldn't use bankruptcy proceedings to subvert the league's rules. He also held that the NHL's proposal didn't treat Moyes and Gretzky fairly. In the end, the NHL reached a settlement with Moyes, agreeing to buy the team from him and assume all the Coyotes' debts. Gretzky was out as an owner, as well as head coach. Dave Tippett took over for the 2009-2010 season, and coached the Coyotes to their first 50-win season in team history. The Yotes made the playoffs for the first time since 2002, and finished 4th overall in the NHL. They faced the Detroit Red Wings in the first round, who eliminated the Coyotes in 7 games. The next season, the Coyotes met the Wings in the first round again, but this time they were swept. The 2011-2012 season was the best in Coyotes history. They won their division for the first time, setting up a matchup with the 6th-seeded Blackhawks in round 1. The Coyotes defeated the Blackhawks in 6 games, the franchise's first playoff series win since moving to Phoenix. The series was a classic, with 5 of the 6 games going to overtime. The Coyotes faced the Predators in round 2, and won the series in 5 games. The Yotes' run ended in the conference finals, where they fell to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Kings in 5 games. Despite the Coyotes' newfound success on the ice, the off-ice shenanigans continued. After the NHL bought the team, Bettman started working to make a deal with one of 2 potential bidders, Jerry Reinsdorf or Ice Edge Holdings, but by the end of the 2010 offseason, both bidders had dropped out. In its frustration, the NHL threatened to move the team back to Winnipeg unless Glendale agreed to help cover the team's losses. Midway through the 2010-11 season, Chicago-based Matthew Hulsizer, along with several other investors, was approved to purchase the team. Hulsizer also negotiated a lease with the city of Glendale. Things looked to be moving along smoothly until an Arizona-based litigation center announced its intention to challenge the terms of the lease in court. The threat resulted in the deal falling through, and Hulsizer abandoned his bid for the Coyotes in the summer of 2011. With the NHL's threat to move the team still looming, Glendale set aside $25 million to ensure the team would stay in Arizona for another season, while the NHL worked on arranging a sale. In August of 2011, a group led by former San Jose Sharks president Greg Jameson emerged as a potential purchaser. After some back and forth and discussions with other potential purchasers, the NHL announced in May of 2012 there was a tentative deal for Jameson's group to buy the Coyotes. But once again, the deal fell through as the parties couldn't come to terms on a lease that was satisfactory to Jameson's group. 2012 to 2013 marked the 4th season without an owner for the Coyotes. Due to the team's bankruptcy status since 2009 and the revenue they were losing each year, the NHL planned to move the team if they couldn't find a new owner by July 2, 2013. It was rumored that the NHL's top destination for relocation was Seattle. But in the late evening of July 2nd, the Glendale City Council approved a 15-year lease with Renaissance Sports and Entertainment, who'd agreed to purchase the Coyotes from the NHL for $225 million. The new ownership group renamed itself Ice Arizona, and also announced the team would change its name to the Arizona Coyotes for the 2014-15 season. The Ice Arizona group consisted of 9 close friends who liked to have fun. Their deal with Glendale was a favorable one, with the city agreeing to pay the ownership group $15 million a year in management fees. The Ice Arizona group spent lavishly, taking team personnel out for fancy dinners, and frequently joined the team on road trips. Following 2013-14, a season in which the Coyotes missed the playoffs, it was reported that underwhelming revenues resulted in the city of Glendale recouping $2.4 million less than anticipated. Making matters worse, in June of 2014, a Scottsdale public relations firm sued Ice Arizona for bailing on a sponsorship deal worth $250,000. The Ice Arizona experiment lasted just 1 year, with the group selling a 51% controlling interest to hedge fund manager Andrew Barroway for $152.5 million. Barroway eventually bought out the rest of the ownership group in 2017 and became the sole owner of the team. Unsurprisingly, the Barroway era didn't start out well either. The team finished last in the Pacific Division in 2014-15, with the second worst record in the NHL. Off the ice, Barroway found himself in a battle with the Glendale City Council, who voted to terminate the city's 15-year lease agreement with the Coyotes. The parties eventually agreed to a resolution, with the Coyotes announcing they'd reached a deal to remain in Glendale for 2 more seasons. At the same time, things were falling apart on the ice. The Coyotes finished the 2014-15 season with the second worst record in the NHL, which contributed to declining attendance. The lease dispute and poor attendance made it clear to Barroway that the Glendale experiment was a failure, so he started working on a new arena deal in Tempe. The original proposal involved a collaboration with Arizona State University to build an NHL arena with a capacity of 16,000, plus an adjoining 4,000-seat arena for Coyotes practices and ASU games. But in 2017, the project fell through when ASU pulled out of the deal. On the ice, the Yotes were going through a transition phase. After missing the playoffs for the fourth consecutive season in 2015-16, the Coyotes hired 26-year-old analytics guru John Chayka, who became the youngest general manager in NHL history. At the end of the 2016-17 season, another year in which the Coyotes missed the playoffs, Chayka abruptly opted not to re-sign longtime captain Shane Doan, which blindsided Doan and the Coyotes fan base. Just days later, longtime head coach Dave Tippett stepped down and was succeeded by Rick Tocchet. After missing the playoffs for 2 more consecutive seasons, Barroway sold the team to Alex Meruelo in the summer of 2019, although he retained a 5% interest in the club. Barroway's affiliation with the Coyotes ultimately came to an end in March of 2023, when he was arrested on charges of sexual assault, and Bettman suspended him from the league. As is Coyotes tradition, the Meruelo era began with a few major hiccups, although at least one of them was out of the organization's control. The 2019-20 season was abruptly suspended in March of 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, although this ended up working in the Coyotes' favor. The team qualified for the NHL's expanded playoff format, which marked their first playoff appearance in 7 seasons. More troubling was the abrupt resignation of GM John Chayka, just 1 day before the start of the playoffs. To make matters worse, it was also revealed that the Coyotes hosted a private scouting event for draft prospects, which is against NHL rules. As punishment, the Coyotes were forced to forfeit their 2020 second-round pick and their first-round pick at the 2021 draft. The Coyotes won the play-in round against the Nashville Predators, but ultimately fell to the Colorado Avalanche in 5 games in the first round. At that summer's draft, Meruelo's team had another self-inflicted wound. New GM Steve Sullivan and the Coyotes front office were criticized for drafting Mitchell Miller, after allegations surfaced that he'd repeatedly bullied a disabled black classmate throughout multiple years of grade school. In response to the backlash, the Coyotes renounced Miller's rights soon after the draft. But the string of controversies didn't end there. In January of 2021, Bettman announced that Chayka was suspended from working in the league for pursuing opportunities with other teams while still under contract with the Coyotes, and terminating his contract with 3 years remaining. The Coyotes resumed their struggles on the ice, missing the playoffs for the 8th time in 9 seasons in the COVID-modified 2020-21 season. The offseason brought more bad news, as Glendale and the Gila River Arena chose not to renew their operation agreement beyond the 2021-22 season. As a result, Meruelo started scrambling to negotiate a new arena deal in Tempe. The Yotes continued their on-ice struggles during the 2021-22 season, their final year in Glendale, winning just 25 of 82 games and missing the playoffs again. Behind the scenes, the season was marked by an ongoing battle between the Coyotes and Gila River Arena. Midway through the season, the arena threatened to lock the team out of the building if they didn't pay the $1.3 million they owed in taxes. The team paid up the next day, citing an unfortunate human error as the reason for the late payment. Without a home for the 2022-23 season, Meruelo entered an agreement with Arizona State University to use the new 5,000-seat Mullett Arena as a temporary home for the next 3 seasons. Meanwhile, Meruelo released a proposal to build a $2.1 billion entertainment district on a vacant landfill in Tempe. The proposal included a 16,000-seat arena, 2 hotels, a 3,500-person theater, and up to 2,000 residential units. One of Meruelo's rallying cries for the project was landfill to landmark, since 1.5 million tons of trash would have been removed from the site at an estimated cost of $75 million. Although the project would be privately funded, it involved a 30-year property tax break that would save Meruelo $500 million in taxes. Supporters of the project included the Tempe City Council, the mayor, and the NHL. Those who opposed the project cited everything from excessive tax breaks, to traffic congestion, to the desire to develop the land in other ways. The city of Phoenix also had pending litigation against the planned residential units in the district. Plus, the bitter split between the Coyotes and Glendale raised questions about Meruelo's character. In the end, voters in Tempe rejected the proposal, sending Meruelo back to square one. After missing the playoffs in their first season at the Mullett Arena, the Coyotes remained there for the 2023-24 season. After the Tempe proposal failed, Meruelo expanded his search to Mesa and Scottsdale, stating his intention to win a June 2024 land auction on a piece of property in the Scottsdale area. But with just a week left in the 2024 season, and the Coyotes eliminated from the playoffs for the 4th consecutive year, it was reported that the NHL was positioning itself to move the Coyotes to Salt Lake City in time for the 2024-25 season. Billionaire Ryan Smith, the head of the Smith Entertainment Group, which owns the Utah Jazz, formally asked the NHL to initiate an expansion process back in January of 2024 to bring a team to Salt Lake City. On April 18, 2024, the league announced that the NHL Board of Governors voted in favor of the sale of the Coyotes' hockey assets to Smith. The deal was more complicated than most relocations, as it saw the league act as a broker, with Smith Entertainment Group buying the Coyotes' hockey-related assets for $1.2 billion. It was a hybrid transaction, with $1 billion going to Meruelo, and the remaining $200 million split among the rest of the NHL's owners. As part of the sale, the Coyotes franchise has officially been declared inactive. Meruelo will retain the logos and branding associated with the team, and has been granted a 5-year window to bring an expansion franchise back to the Phoenix area if he can get an arena built. With the sale completed, the team's expected to begin play on an interim basis at the Delta Center, which carries a capacity of 14,000 for hockey, until a new arena is constructed in Salt Lake City. As for Meruelo, he maintains that hockey belongs in the desert, and says he plans to win an auction for land in Northeast Phoenix on June 27th, where he'll build an arena and relaunch the Coyotes. But Meruelo's past failures make me skeptical about the Coyotes' return actually happening. That's all for this look back at the rise and fall of the Coyotes. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and please like and subscribe to support the channel.